Hello, friends. Welcome to Lessons from Our Animals and Soul. I am Emma. I am an animal communicator and healer and teacher. And for today's episode, first of all, thank you so much for being here. And I am so excited for you to be on this ride with me. And I'm just really excited to be able to share a lot of the messages that I receive through the different communications that I do, where the messages are for their person, for the animal's person. And yet there are so many messages that come through where I'm like, oh, I needed to hear that, or oh, the world needs to hear that. And I am so excited to use this platform for that specific reason, to really allow us all to be able to simmer in the wisdom of animals and what they have to share. I mean, there's just like it came to mind, so I'm going to share it. So I have a dog and a cat and 3 horses. And 2 of my horses are younger. They're about 2.5, and they are formerly wild Mustangs that came off a reservation near Bend, Oregon, where I currently live. And one of the newest adoption, his name is Apollo. He shared with me in our last chat, I don't know, a month ago or less, that he said this in the session, and it wasn't even something that I was like looking for any kind of real message from him for like the greater world. It was more me, asking him questions about us together and our relationship. And he ended up saying, "We are all magic, just waiting to be dusted upon the earth." And again, this is something I don't know that I will ever forget. It has stuck with me. And I love looking back. I love feeling back into that exact sentence, because there's so much there and it can mean so much. And that we all are magic, literally just waiting to be dusted upon the earth, whether that is you stepping into your soul's work so that the world can benefit from it, or it's you stepping into your authenticity so that you can experience the life that you're meant to experience, and at the same time giving permission to those around you to do the same thing, right? That like dusting upon the earth can look so many different ways, and it all has to do with us giving ourselves our gifts, our dharma, our whatever you want to call it, not only to ourselves first, but to the world. Because when we do give it to ourselves first, we are then giving it to the world. And he is such magic, Apollo. And yeah, I'm sure I'll be sharing about all of them more throughout this whole podcast. And yeah, today's episode, that was not what I was planning to talk about. And yet, we're all just here and guided, and that really felt like it needed to be shared. So here we are. And so one of the things that I wanted to focus on, or kind of look at, are what a lot of the more general things that animals have taught me, or that I have learned through doing these sessions over the few years. Well, let's see, 4 years I have been communicating with animals. And there's just so many. And this isn't going to be a complete list. These are just the ones that came to mind. And I would love to hear what animals have taught you. So please feel free to reach out, and I would love to hear more about that. So one of the things that I have learned is that animals need to feel safe in order to truly open up. So one of the ways, or how I go about connecting in with animals, is first, when I'm opening the space, one of the things that I do to open the space is something called a ground cord, which looks like not that. It looks like vines or roots coming out of my tailbone down into the center of the earth, where for me, I see when the vines or the roots break through to the center of the earth, I see a crystal that's sitting there, and the crystal changes for every reading. So it just gives us additional information. my ground cord will wrap around the crystal and then ground into white light energy and the earth. And then all of that energy comes up through the ground cord, through the roots, through the vine, and then fills my body, fills my aura. And that's the energy in which I welcome the animal into. So I also have physical crystals and whatnot. And I'm happy to go into more detail about how I go about connecting and communicating and all of that good stuff. And for the purposes of the fact that they need to feel safe in order to open up, is that from a communication standpoint, I do what I can in order to create a space that's going to feel really supportive and welcoming to that animal that I'm connecting in with, because most of the time I have not communicated with them before, and welcoming them into a space that is stark and clean and maybe just like doesn't feel great because it's all of a sudden I'm in this new place and who are you and I don't know you and why should I talk to you? And being able to create more of this kind of loving, energetic, helpful, supportive space is going to help them feel better about opening up. Also, I have found that when I do energetic healings before the conversation, which anytime I do a healing, it's always before the conversation, that always helps in the conversation. It helps loosen things up. It helps them trust me more and quicker, because I just kind of quote unquote proved myself to them through the energetic clearing that I'm here to support them. I'm here to help them. I'm here to truly serve them. And so through that kind of part of the process, once we get to the conversation, they're more eager to open up because they're like, okay, cool. Like, you're here for it. And there are multiple animals that I've had to have, not had to have, but I have had multiple sessions with. And the more and more we have sessions, the more and more they open up, because sometimes they don't want to share all of the juicy details if they don't think their person's actually going to do anything with it, or they don't think that their person's ready to hear the thing to actually be able to do anything for it, right? So there can be a lot of reasons for them to not necessarily feel safe to open up. And the more that we can create a space, so on my end, the more that I can create a space that's going to welcome them into something that feels really good for them right off the bat is going to help. And then on your end, when you hear what they have to say, when you take the words that they have to share with you and then do something with them, right? Show them in whatever way that you heard them and that you're wanting to help or support or whatever the case may be. Side note, a lot of the messages that come through for the people in the sessions that I do with animals have to do with the people, right? It's that they like need them to do something or to step up or to slow down or to whatever. So just being mindful and essentially also quote unquote proving to your animal that you are here, you're here for it, you're here for the lessons, you're here to hear what they have to say and to share with you, and that you're open to it and you want to know more. That's going to help them feel better about opening up and continuing to open up like later on in life or in other sessions, because they know that you're listening. And it's so cool when that's the case. It's so fun having those sessions. So another thing that I have learned is that our animals are so much more aware and observant of us than we give them credit for. So if you listened to the first episode and you heard what Ranger was here to teach me, not once did I expect him to say any of those words, right? He had said that he was the most scared that I wasn't going to learn what he was here to teach me. And he was here to teach me to be present, to love myself more, or to love myself first, and to trust myself. And I hear a lot of feedback from the people that have the sessions done with their animals that they were not expecting to hear their animal have any input on their life. And they do. They have a lot of thoughts and a lot of feelings about the way that you're going through your life. And they can be really supportive ones, and okay, regardless, they're always going to be supportive words. And sometimes they can feel not as fun to hear. And sometimes they can feel really fun to hear. And it just really depends on your emotional state and where you're at and what you're, how you're grooving and moving with them and listening to them and their messages and all of that good stuff. And so really inviting them in to share what they see or what they feel or what they think that you need to be doing in your life that, or maybe you need to stop doing in your life that is getting in the way of whatever you do truly desire or whatever your path truly is in this lifetime. And, you know, I'm still, not always, but I can still be surprised when I communicate with one of my animals and they have words for me. And I'm like, how did you know? Like, I know how they know. And yet it's like, I thought I was doing better, or I thought I was, more there than you're saying I'm there. And then later on, I can see the objectivity of the fact that I was not, in fact, as close as I thought. So they can be such a beautiful coaching tool if you want to look at it in that capacity to your life and to your path, especially if you're somebody on more of a spiritual, personal development type of path. All right. The next thing that I've really learned is that they don't do something or anything for quote unquote no reason. There's always a reason for why they're doing something, especially when we're talking about like them doing something out of character. There's a reason for it. Yes, sometimes it's a fluke thing, and most times it is not. An example from my own animals is that, so in the first episode talked about, or maybe it was this episode. Now I can't even, no, it was this episode. So Apollo is one of the younger Mustangs that I have. Ruby is the other. And Ruby, after we moved to this new place, after we were there for a couple of months, she jumped a fence and got a wound on her leg. Jumping the fence is very out of character for her. And to me, immediately, I was like, there's something here for me. There's a message here for me. She did this because I wasn't listening. And a lot of people were telling me, oh, she's a young Mustang. Like, that's just what babies do. That's just the way of things. And I never accepted that. It's like, you can have that belief, but that is not the actual truth in this situation. And it actually took me a few weeks to be able to connect in with her because I was so emotionally wrapped up in that situation. And the fact that I knew it was about me and I wasn't emotionally ready to hear what she had to say. And when I did communicate with her and I did connect in with her and I did ask her, why did you jump the fence? Essentially, it boiled down to her saying that you need to grow in your confidence so the rest of us can thrive in our surroundings. And yes, she said it with that much attitude. Like, that is how it came through. And she 100% accurate, 100% right. Didn't want to hear it in the moment. Wasn't ready to hear it. And through her doing that, through her getting a wound, she like cleared the fence. We don't even necessarily to this day understand exactly where she jumped and how she got the wound. And it doesn't really matter because the wound is the thing that did help me grow in my confidence, plus all the other things that have happened since then. And not that she's like continuing to jump fences or anything like that, but just through that experience allowed me to do many, many more things with them because she was 100% right. I needed to grow in my confidence so that they could thrive in their surroundings. And so it's taking note of the fact and being aware of when your animals are acting out of character, there is a reason for it. And so it's asking them, what is the reason? Why is this happening? Why are you doing this? Does it have to do with something with me? Or does it have to do with something for you, right? It doesn't always have to be about us. It can also be about them sometimes where it's like, I'm trying to bring your attention to something that's going on in my body. I'm trying to bring your attention to how I feel in my life and that I want to do more, right? They have desires as much as we have desires. And so it's also how can we best support them and what it is that they truly came here to do and to be. And just as much as us stepping into what we're here to do and be in this lifetime, too. All right. Another thing that I have learned is that when a behavior or injury or illness does not get better over time, even though you're supporting that thing to get better, it's likely because that thing is happening or continues to happen because there's a message there for you. They are escalating the process. They're escalating the injury. They're escalating the illness. They're escalating the whatever the behavior, whatever the case may be. Or maybe they're not escalating it, but they're not getting better, right? Even if you're supporting with training or you're supporting with vet or supplements or food or whatever the thing is, that it's not getting better. Have you asked them if they're trying to give you a message? Have you asked them, is this about me? Have you asked them what it is that they're trying to tell you? Because likely there's something there for you. And I have seen a multitude of different ways of those things shifting and changing over time. So sometimes those things shift in the middle of a session because all the animal truly wanted to do was say the words out so that they knew that their person was going to hear them. And that's all they needed to do. Sometimes the person or the animal needs to not only say the words, but know that the person took them or heard them or, is simmering or sitting with them. So that can take a little bit longer. That might take a couple of days for things to start shifting. And then the last way that I've seen, which was my way, the way that Ranger was really teaching me, was things did not change until I started living the message. Same with Ruby, although Ruby was more the second one, where once I heard the message and really was like, got it, and I'm working on it, and like started to like really put it into action and like allowing that message to simmer in my body and not make me feel shamed or guilt or anything like that. Just like really taking it, being like, I got this. Thank you so much. That her wound healed. And like quickly, it wasn't really healing. And then as soon as we started doing things, like it started to get better, it healed. She doesn't have any issues at all using her leg and all the ways that she like jumps it and bucks and rears and runs and it just kicks out. And it's just, she is a athletic and amazing little thing. And the injury did nothing to her. And had I not heard the message, had I not taken the message on board, the wound may have not healed. The wound may have left lasting impressions for her where maybe she wouldn't have been able to be ridden or she couldn't use her leg in all the different ways that she loves to use her leg. So it's just recognizing kind of what's at play and understanding that there can be this underlying message that has to do with you. And that doesn't make you a bad parent. It doesn't make you a bad guardian. It makes you human. And we're all here to receive messages, just as I've already shared with a few of my animals, how they've shared messages with me. And I have plenty of stories from my own animals of how they've taught me lessons in different ways and the messages that they've shared with me. And it doesn't mean that they don't like me. It doesn't mean that they don't want to be with me. It doesn't mean that I have ruined their life. It is literally what they're not the only reason they're here, but one of the main reasons they're here, to help move me on my path, to help support me just as much as I'm here to help support them and what they need and what they desire. And so it's a give and take, right? It's like any other relationship. And so not taking it as a personal attack or criticism on you, taking it as a lesson in life. All right. And then one of the last ones, or the last one that I have on here, is that they want to experience love, joy, and trust just as much as we do. And when I say that, I really mean literally what I was just saying at the end of the last one is that they have desires and wants, and some of them come here with really big purposes and life accomplishments or goals that they want to achieve or be part of, right? Like their own soul's work. And are we willing to see it? Are we willing to support it? Are we willing to do what is necessary to support them and what they're here to do as well? So, Ranger, we'll take Ranger for example. He is someone who thrives in outdoors, but not just any outdoors. He thrives in not populated outdoors. So where we currently live, we live near a national forest where there's not a lot of people out there. He thrives in that scenario. He thrives with us going out there, him off leash, getting to go explore and smell and just be at one and connected in nature as much as I am as well. We used to live in the San Jose area in California, which does not have a national forest that backs up to where I was living. And he didn't really thrive in that situation. He was fine, but he wasn't as puppy-like as he is now. He is almost 11 and he is very active and very energetic and acts very puppy-like, acts much younger than he actually is. And so it's just recognizing what is it that they truly need, and not just like what I think they do or what I expect them to, but because again, expectations are not necessarily reality. So if you're looking at a dog and you're like, you love to play fetch, like we're going to go do that. And then it's like, that is not the thing for them. Or like, you're a water dog, so you're going to love going swimming. And it's like, that's also not always going to be true. And so being able to look at the individual that you welcomed into your family and saying, how do I best support you? And then being able to give that to them in whatever way you're able to. So now we can go into the forest, which is amazing. When we were in California, we could not do that. And at the same time, I worked a corporate job that was a traditional Monday to Friday type of situation, and also more days. But I made it a point that every weekend or almost every weekend, we would go to at least this one trail that was near-ish to where we lived, because I knew if we went in the morning, we weren't really going to run into anybody, and it was a little bit out of the way, so it wasn't super populated. But we had to like really find it and try things out and figure it out. So anyway, all that to say, there's a lot of things that our animals are here to teach us. There's a lot of things that they have just waiting to share, just wanting us to sit there and say, please share with me. What is it that you want me to know? And at the same time, being open and ready to receive what they have to share. Because saying, I want to hear what you have to say, but not actually meaning it is not helpful. So if you're asking them, I want to hear from you, truly be in a place where you truly want to hear from them. Otherwise, they're going to feel that difference and it's not going to feel very good. And they're not necessarily going to want to open up as much. And I mean, going back to the first thing that I've learned about them wanting to feel safe, I've had an animal. It was a horse that was rounded up. She was a wild horse, a Mustang, and she was rounded up and just like unsettled. And I had said, I'm happy to do a session with her. I felt really called to do it. And I connected in with her and she was like, why should I trust you? And she essentially, I had never had this happen, and I have not had this happen since. She asked for references. She wanted to hear from other animals that I actually was who I said I was, that I was going to do what I said I was going to do, and want to hear from them for why she should trust me or why she could trust me or any of the other things. And so in this session was connecting her to other animals that actually she was on the same property with, that I've done sessions with, to be like, here, they can tell you about me. Here, they can tell you about me. And the next session I went in, she was ready to open up, not quite as much as like some other animals. And then by the third time, she was ready to open up more fully. And that just, it's like the case that's going to happen, right? You just like with people, some people are more open to trusting right off the bat than others. And so just being able to see them, our animals, as individuals, and the fact that they have so much to give, and that we don't always even give them the credit of all the things that they've given to us, taught us, supported us, guided us. And so anyway, I hope that this was a helpful kind of way to hear about the different things that I have learned throughout the many sessions that I have done over the years, and the many different animals that I have connected in with. And I mean, it's pretty much pretty similar across species, of them here to guide us and teach us. Is they just do it in a little bit of a different way because they have different aspects or personalities or body parts that they can move in different ways or however they might do it, right? A pig's going to show up differently than a horse, and a dog's going to show up differently than a cat. And yet they're all still teaching us in different ways. And so maybe ask your animals, or reflect about your animals, of what is it that they've been trying to teach you, and what is it that they are guiding you towards, and what is it that they love and that they desire and that they want to be supported on and supported with in this lifetime, and how you can go about supporting them in that. So if this was helpful for you, I would love for you to subscribe or to share it with somebody that you think might be interested in this content as well. And I'm so excited to continue sharing. Again, if you have any kind of topics or anything that you want to hear more about, please let me know. I would love that. I will put more information in the show notes of how to go about doing that. But I would love to share any kind of tips or insights or lessons that I've learned from the different sessions I've done over the many years. All right. I will talk to you all very soon. All right. Bye.